Hi there. Real quick before we jump into the episode. If you enjoy this episode, or any of the other episodes, be sure to give us a follow or subscribe. It would also be great if you shared it with a friend, or better yet, left a review so others can know how awesome it is. Thanks so much. And now, the episode.
Hey there, Press Starters, and welcome to the Press Start Leadership Podcast, the podcast about game-changing leadership, teaching you how to get the most out of your product and development team and become the leader you were meant to be. Leadership coaching and training for the international game industry professional. Now, let me introduce you to your host, the man, the myth, the legend, Christopher Mifsud.
Hey there, Press Starters, and welcome back to another awesome edition of the Press Start Leadership Podcast. On this week's episode, we'll be discussing leadership and cross-media expansion for game studios. How game leaders can grow their IP into film, TV, and other media while keeping creative vision intact. In today's interconnected entertainment landscape, video games are no longer confined to consoles or PCs. Games are stories, worlds, and universes that transcend their original medium. The most successful franchises are no longer just games. They are ecosystems of storytelling spanning comics, novels, animation, film, television, and even live events. The phenomenon, known as cross-media expansion, offers incredible potential. When done right, it builds stronger communities, creates new revenue streams, and deepens player engagement. Yet, it also introduces complex leadership challenges. Leadership in cross-media expansion requires more than managing production schedules or budgets. It demands strategic vision, cross-industry collaboration, and deep understanding of how to translate interactive experiences into linear or hybrid formats. It requires leaders to balance business goals with creative authenticity, ensuring that each medium adds value without diluting the original vision. The transition from game to transmedia storytelling can be both exciting and intimidating. Whether your studio is developing a companion comic series, licensing a TV adaptation, or co-producing a film, effective leadership determines whether the expansion succeeds or stumbles. Why leadership matters in cross-media expansion. At the core of every successful cross-media project is strong leadership. Without it, expansions risk fragmentation, brand confusion, or inconsistent storytelling. Leadership in cross-media expansion matters because it requires guiding multiple creative teams across different industries, each with their own languages, processes, and priorities. The leader becomes the bridge, connecting game designers, screenwriters, artists, producers, and marketing executives around a unified vision. Some of the key leadership challenges include maintaining creative coherence, ensuring that stories across comics, TV, and film align with the tone and lore of the original game, building effective collaboration, managing partnerships across different production cultures, protecting brand integrity, avoiding over-commercialization that alienates fans, adapting communication styles, translating game development language into the vocabularies of film, animation, or publishing, strategic decision-making, knowing when to expand and when to focus resources internally. Leaders who approach cross-media expansion with empathy, structure, and vision are the ones who turn opportunity into sustainable growth. Leaders who approach cross-media expansion with empathy, structure, and vision are the ones who turn opportunity into sustainable growth. Understanding cross-media versus transmedia. Before diving into leadership strategies, it helps to clarify the distinction between cross-media and transmedia, two terms often used interchangeably but with distinct meanings. Cross-media expansion means extending your intellectual property into other media platforms. For example, adapting a video game into a TV series or a comic book. Each medium tells the same or a related story. Transmedia storytelling goes a step further. It creates interconnected narratives across different platforms, where each medium adds unique perspectives to a shared universe. Both approaches require leadership that balances creativity and business considerations. Cross-media leadership focuses on consistency and adaptation. Transmedia leadership emphasizes coordination and narrative expansion. In either case, a leader must serve as both creative guardian and facilitator, ensuring that each adaptation respects the core identity of the original game while embracing the strengths of the new medium. Actionable step number 1, define the core identity of your IP. Before any cross-media expansion begins, the first and most critical step is defining the core identity of your intellectual property. Leaders must articulate what makes the game's world, characters, and themes unique, and ensure that every adaptation reflects those elements. How to define your IP's core identity. Identify core themes. What emotional or philosophical ideas drive your story? Is it redemption, freedom, survival, or moral ambiguity? Clarify tone and genre. What mood defines your world, such as grim realism, whimsical fantasy, or noir mystery? Establish visual and narrative pillars. What visual motifs, narrative archetypes, and stylistic traits are non-negotiable? Document everything, create an IP Bible, and transmedia guide that codifies these principles for external partners. By establishing this foundation, leaders protect their heart of the brand while giving creative collaborators the clarity they need to adapt the material faithfully. Actual step number 2, build collaborative partnerships. Cross-media expansion cannot happen in isolation. It relies on partnerships with publishers, studios, networks, and production companies that understand the nuances of the respective industries. As a leader, your goal is to not control every detail, but to foster collaboration built on mutual respect. Practical steps for building effective partnerships. Vet partners carefully. Look for teams who understand your creative vision and share your values. Align incentives. Ensure all partners have clear benefits tied to the project's success. Establish shared goals. Define success metrics, such as critical reception, audience engagement, or brand growth before production begins. Maintain open communication. Schedule regular cross-team meetings to align progress. Strong partnerships are built on transparency and shared commitment to quality. Actionable step number 3, develop cross-industry literacy. Leaders in game development often speak a different professional language than those in film, television, or publishing. To govern effectively, you must become fluent in each medium's workflow, culture, and priorities. How to build cross-industry literacy. Study the production timelines, budgets, and decision-making hierarchies in film and TV. Learn how narrative pacing and visual framing differ between games and comics. Understand marketing cycles for books, streaming, and cinematic releases. Attend cross-media conferences and panels to observe how other IPs navigate expansion. This literacy allows you to anticipate challenges, communicate effectively, and earn the trust of collaborators. Actionable step number 4, balance creative freedom and brand consistency. One of the greatest leadership tests in cross-media expansion is knowing when to enforce creative boundaries and when to allow flexibility. Over-controlling adaptations can stifle creativity, but too much freedom can fragment the IP's identity. Leaders must set clear creative parameters that protect the brand while encouraging innovation. How to achieve this balance. Define guardrails in your creative guide, key rules that cannot be broken. Identify areas where collaborators have freedom, such as tone, pacing, or format. Approve critical creative decisions early to prevent costly revisions. Encourage adaptation rather than duplication. Each medium should contribute something unique. When leadership strikes the right balance, every new medium strengthens the franchise instead of competing with it. The emotional intelligence of cross-media leadership. Cross-media leadership is not just a strategic challenge, it is an emotional one. Leaders must navigate egos, expectations, and creative disagreements across industries that have very different cultures. Key emotional intelligence traits for cross-media leaders. Empathy. Understanding what motivates each creative partner. Patience. Recognizing that adaptation takes time and trust. Diplomacy. Mediating between business goals and artistic integrity. Resilience. Accepting setbacks as part of the process. These emotional skills are what separate reactive managers from visionary leaders. Actual step number 5. Create a unified narrative timeline. When multiple adaptations are in development, such as game sequels, a comic prequel, and a TV spin-off, continuity becomes complex. Without strong governance, timelines can contradict, confusing fans and undermining credibility. How to maintain narrative coherence. Create a master narrative timeline that includes all canonical events. Assign a lore lead or narrative director to oversee cross-media continuity. Require all external partners to align scripts or storyboards with this timeline. Build flexibility for minor retcons if necessary, but maintain the integrity of major events. This governance ensures consistency and reinforces audience trust. Actual step number 6. Integrate marketing and storytelling. In cross-media projects, marketing is no longer separate from storytelling. It becomes a part of it. The lines between advertising, narrative, and world building often blur. Leaders must integrate marketing efforts into the creative vision rather than treating them as afterthoughts. Best practices for integration. Ensure marketing materials reinforce rather than distort narrative themes. Coordinate release schedules across media to maximize engagement. Use social platforms to bridge audiences between different media. Highlight behind-the-scenes stories that celebrate collaboration across industries. When leadership aligns marketing with storytelling, each medium strengthens the others. Actionable step number 7, protect the development team. When games move into other media, internal teams often feel sidelined or overextended. They may worry that the game will lose focus or that leadership is prioritizing external projects. As a leader, it's your job to protect and support your team. How to maintain morale and focus. Communicate transparently about cross-media goals and how they support the studio's mission. Celebrate the game team's contributions to the broader franchise. Shield developers from unnecessary external demands. Ensure additional projects do not compromise production schedules or well-being. Leadership means balancing ambition with empathy. Protecting your core team ensures that expansion does not come at the cost of your studio's culture. Actionable step number 8, align financial and creative goals. Cross-media expansion can bring financial rewards, but it also requires investment and risk management. Leaders must align creative ambition with fiscal responsibility. Practical strategies. Conduct cost-benefit analysis for each new medium. Ensure contractual agreements protect your IP's long-term value. Balance short-term licensing revenue with long-term brand equity. Involve financial officers early in the creative decision process. Sound leadership ensures that financial decisions serve creative integrity, not the other way around. The cross-media leadership mindset. Leading a cross-media expansion requires a unique mindset, one that combines the precision of production management with the fluidity of creative direction. It is about seeing the big picture while nurturing the small details. Leaders who excel in this space share a few core traits. Visionary thinking. They see how the universe can evolve across formats. Collaborative humility. They value expertise from other industries. Adaptability. They can shift from technical discussions to creative debates with ease. Cultural fluency. They understand how audiences engage differently across media. These leaders treat cross-media expansion not as a product pipeline, but as a living ecosystem. Advanced actionable step number 9. Establish long-term cross-media governance. As your game expands into multiple media, leadership must evolve from reactive decision-making to proactive governance. Governance ensures that every creative and business decision aligns with your long-term vision rather than short-term hype or external pressure. A governance framework provides structure without stifling creativity. It is your studio's system for managing consistency, approval pipelines, and cross-partner accountability. How to build a strong governance model. Create a transmedia leadership council. Include representatives from each major department: narrative, production, marketing, and business affairs. This team reviews key decisions and ensures that each adaptation aligns with the brand's goals. Set approval checkpoints. Define creative and production milestones where leadership reviews scripts, storyboards, or pilots before moving forward. Maintain a living IP Bible. This should evolve with each release, reflecting canon updates, new characters, and lore developments. Document learning and feedback. Capture insights from each project so the next adaptation benefits from prior experience. Governance protects against creative drift while maintaining agility. It also builds investor and partner confidence, showing that your studio manages its IP with long-term discipline. Advanced actionable step number 10. Foster internal cross-training and knowledge exchange. When your game studio becomes a transmedia company, silos between departments can hinder success. Game developers may not understand the workflow of a comic book artist, and a TV writer may misinterpret what drives engagement in gameplay. Leadership can bridge these gaps through intentional knowledge exchange. How to promote cross-training. Host internal media literacy workshops. Invite filmmakers, comic artists, or screenwriters to speak about their processes. Encourage job shadowing. Let narrative designers sit in on script writing sessions or storyboard reviews. Create a shared vocabulary document. Define key terms across industries to prevent miscommunication. Rotate creative staff temporarily between teams. A short-term exchange can generate empathy and fresh insight. Cross-training builds empathy, collaboration, and creative fluency. It also develops versatile teams who can operate confidently in future cross-media projects. Advanced actionable step number 11. Build a long-term franchise roadmap. Successful cross-media expansion is rarely spontaneous. It follows a deliberate roadmap that anticipates growth while leaving space for organic evolution. Leaders who plan years ahead can balance fan expectation, business cycles, and creative opportunity. How to create a franchise roadmap. Define short, mid, and long-term goals. For example, short-term, a limited comic series exploring a side character. Mid-term, a streaming miniseries adaptation. Long-term, a film or novel that expands the universe canonically. Map out production overlaps. Identify how releases across media reinforce each other without oversaturating audiences. Set realistic cadence. Too many releases at once can exhaust both fans and teams. Review annually. Update your roadmap to reflect shifting market trends and internal capacity. Your roadmap becomes a living strategic document, a compass that keeps expansion aligned with both creative and commercial goals. Advance actionable step number 12. Prepare for cultural localization and global growth. Cross-media projects often reach audiences beyond the original game's community. Each region interprets storytelling, archetypes, and tone differently. A noir-themed story that resonates in Western markets might require subtle shifts for audiences in Asia or the Middle East. Leaders must anticipate and respect cultural differences without diluting authenticity. How to approach cultural localization. Hire local consultants and cultural sensitivity readers. They can identify potential missteps early in production. Tailor marketing campaigns to regional norms. Messaging that feels empowering to one country might feel aggressive in another. Adapt, don't erase. Localize language, symbols, or metaphors while preserving narrative integrity. Empower regional creative partners. Co-production with local studios can enhance authenticity and engagement. Cultural leadership requires cultural intelligence. It is not about universalizing your IP. It is about understanding where and how your story resonates across cultures. Advance actionable step number 13. Manage fan expectations with transparency. Your audience is not passive. Fans who have invested emotionally in your game will carry strong expectations for any adaptation. Mishandling these expectations can fracture trust or cause backlash. Transparent communication builds loyalty and patience. How to manage fan relationships. Communicate early and honestly. Share your reasoning for creative changes or adaptation choices. Celebrate fan contributions. Showcase fan art, theories, and feedback. Acknowledge missteps. If something misses the mark, own it and explain what you learned. Offer behind-the-scenes insights. Transparency humanizes production challenges and builds empathy. Leadership that respects its audience cultivates long-term loyalty. Fans will forgive creative risks if they trust your intent. Advance actionable step number 14. Use data without letting it dictate creativity. Modern transmedia franchises have access to unprecedented audience analytics, from social media sentiment to viewership metrics. Leaders must learn to interpret this data without becoming enslaved to it. Numbers reveal trends, but they cannot replace creative intuition. How to balance data and creativity. Look for patterns, not prescriptions. Data shows what worked, not necessarily what should come next. Use analytics to support intuition. Validate creative decisions rather than dictate them. Beware of echo chambers. Online sentiments often reflect a vocal minority, not the entire audience. Empower data translators. Assign analysts who can interpret findings in ways that inform, not override a creative direction. The best leaders integrate analytics with artistry, ensuring that the human element remains at the heart of the storytelling. Advanced actionable step 15. Create ethical guidelines for cross-media expansion. As your game becomes a broader entertainment brand, ethical leadership becomes increasingly visible. How your studio handles representation, inclusivity, monetization, and sustainability impacts not only reputation, but also trust. Ethical missteps in one medium can taint the entire IP. Building an ethical framework. Prioritize inclusive representation. Ensure that expansions feature diverse voices, both on and off screen. Respect creative labor. Fair pay, crediting, and residuals build goodwill and sustainability. Avoid exploitive monetization. Resist unnecessary merchandise or spin-offs that cheapen the brand. Promote environmental responsibility, especially in physical media. Seek sustainable printing, packaging, and distribution. Ethical leadership is not a marketing stance. It is a cultural commitment. It demonstrates integrity that audiences and partners respect. Learning from success. Case studies in cross-media leadership. The most instructive examples of leadership in cross-media expansion come from franchises that have sustained relevance across decades. Their success stems not just from strong creative teams, but from visionary leadership that treated each medium as part of a cohesive ecosystem. The Witcher franchise. Originally a Polish novel series, The Witcher became an international phenomenon through its video game adaptations, followed by a Netflix series. CD Projekt Red's leadership demonstrated how a studio can respectfully reinterpret source material while elevating it through interactivity. When the series returned to television, it carried the combined narrative weight of both the books and the games. The studio's commitment to authenticity and collaboration between writers, designers, and showrunners ensured consistency across formats. The leadership takeaway: respect the origins, but do not be afraid to redefine them. Each adaptation should feel like a conversation between mediums, not a competition. Riot Games and Arcane. Riot Games' Arcane series represents a modern model of integrated leadership. Rather than outsourcing the adaptation, Riot co-developed the show with Fortiche Production, maintaining close creative oversight. Leadership insisted on narrative and visual quality equal to or greater than the game itself. The result was a critically acclaimed series that deepened emotional investment in the League of Legends universe and attracted audiences far beyond gamers. Leadership takeaway: ownership matters. Maintaining direct involvement ensures that transmedia expansion serves the IP's identity, not external market trends. Naughty Dog and The Last of Us. When The Last of Us transitioned to HBO, co-creator Neil Druckmann remained deeply involved in production alongside showrunners Craig Mazin. This collaboration preserved the game's emotional depth while expanding the reach through new storytelling possibilities. The adaptation proved that authenticity and fidelity can coexist with reinvention. Leadership takeaway: involve the original creators. Their presence anchors adaptations in authenticity and reassures fans that the creative vision remains intact. These examples show that great cross-media leadership is not about replicating success. It's about nurturing trust, vision, and continuity across every new form of storytelling. The leadership spectrum: creative versus operational balance. One of the most difficult balancing acts for leaders in cross-media expansion is managing the dual pressures of creativity and operations. Too much focus on logistics can smother inspiration. Too much focus on art can derail budgets or timelines. Leaders who succeed in cross-media ecosystems understand that they must embody both the visionary and the executor. Creative leadership qualities: champion narrative integrity and artistic equality. Inspire teams through vision and purpose. Encourage experimentation and calculated risk-taking. Operational leadership qualities: manage budgets, schedules, and partnerships efficiently. Mitigate risk through clear contracts and governance. Prioritize deliverables without compromising morale. The most effective leaders integrate both skill sets. They are storytellers who think strategically and strategists who value creative authenticity. Sustaining leadership energy over time. Cross-media leadership is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Projects across multiple media can span years, demanding consistent vision and emotional stamina. Leaders who do not cultivate sustainable habits risk burnout, inconsistency, and disconnection from their teams. Practical ways to sustain leadership energy. Delegate strategically. Trust lieutenants to manage operational details while you focus on vision. Establish personal boundaries. Creative leadership often blurs into personal identity. Learn to separate them. Revisit your why. Regularly remind yourself why this universe matters to you and to your audience. Prioritize reflection. Build time into your schedule for analysis and recalibration. Sustainable leadership ensures not only the health of your projects, but the health of your studio culture. The culture and human dimension of cross-media expansion. Beyond production and profit, cross-media expansion reshapes how your studio interacts with the world. You are no longer just releasing games, you're curating culture. Every adaptation, casting choice, or partnership reflects your studio's values. Leaders must recognize that they are now stewards of cultural conversation. Games adapted into other media influence how audiences perceive heroism, morality, identity, and diversity. Leadership in this space carries social responsibility. Cultural leadership principles. Elevate underrepresented voices in new media adaptations. Challenge stereotypes within your IP rather than perpetuate them. Engage with fan communities respectfully, not transactionally. Treat adaptation as an opportunity for cultural dialogue. In a global media landscape, your leadership defines not just how your stories are told, but what they stand for. The future of cross-media leadership in the video game industry. As technology advances, the line between interactive and linear storytelling will continue to blur. Emerging formats such as virtual production, AI-driven narrative generation, and real-time audience engagement will demand even more adaptive leadership. Future leaders will need to navigate hybrid spaces where games, shows, and live experiences merge into continuous storytelling ecosystems. These leaders must understand creative technology, not just as a tool, but as a narrative medium in their own right. Key trends shaping the next generation of leadership. Real-time transmedia experiences. game worlds that evolve dynamically alongside film or streaming content, community co-creation, audiences contributing to canon through participatory storytelling platforms, AI-assisted adaptation, machine learning tools helping convert stories or story arcs across formats efficiently, sustainability as storytelling ethos, environmental awareness embedded directly into world building and production design. Preparing for this future requires flexible leadership, leaders who are curious, ethical, and willing to learn as quickly as the industry adapts. Bring it all together, the core leadership principles of cross-media expansion. To summarize, successful leadership in cross-media expansion rests on 5 enduring principles. Clarity of vision. Define and communicate the essence of your IP relentlessly. Collaborative trust. Build partnerships rooted in respect, transparency, and shared purpose. Cultural fluency. Understand how your story resonates globally and ethically. Creative integrity. Guard the heart of your narrative while embracing innovation. Sustainable governance. Build systems that protect both your team and your vision for the long term. Each project, whether a comic series, film adaptation, or streaming spin-off, tests these principles. Success depends on how consistently and compassionately you apply them. Final thoughts. Leading the story beyond the screen. Cross-media expansion is not just a business strategy. It's an active leadership vision. It asks you to guide your world, your team, and your audience through uncharted creative territory. As a leader, you are not merely managing products. You are shaping legacies. You are ensuring that your studio stories live beyond the game, connecting the audience in new and meaningful ways. The heart of leadership in cross-media expansion lies in balance between art and commerce, control and collaboration, passion and patience. The leaders who will thrive in this new era are those who understand that each adaptation is not an endpoint, but a dialogue, one that invites new voices, new perspectives, and new generations into the world you created. When your leadership is rooted in empathy, integrity, and vision, your stories will not just cross media, they will transcend them. All right, and that's this week's episode of the Press Start Leadership Podcast. Thanks for listening, and as always, thanks for being awesome.
Oh, hi. And the episode's over, but thanks for sticking around till the end. Be sure to check out more episodes in the playlist and new episodes every week on Monday. Follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to leave a review. Thanks again for being awesome.